There are thousands of insurance companies. Every single one has a different process, different workflow. Standardizing all of this unstructured data is a massive problem.
What we've deployed is a bunch of AI agents that will call the insurance company and go figure out what exactly happened.
Not only do we pass the Turing test, the human agent was like, "You're really good at your job, you're so efficient." The AI was like, "Yeah, thank you so much, like really appreciate it."
So you want to take human workers, take away the waiting on the phone, the boring stuff, let them operate at a higher level to actually create more value.
People always ask us, does this mean I have to lay off my team? Actually, what we find...
CEO and co-founder.
Joe, I'm Dale, the founding partner of
Palantir co-founder. Joe,
Dental billing. Why are we talking about dental billing? It's actually tied to some of the most important stuff going on in our economy today. Shreyas and Anton are building DayDream, which is the quintessential AI services company. There's this huge wave of these companies in our economy that are gonna empower small business owners. They're gonna help other workers work on more interesting problems instead of having to do the grunt work. It's gonna make these small businesses more profitable, and it's gonna raise productivity in our economy. You know, a lot of people are afraid of what we're seeing with AI right now. Talking to Shreyas and Anton, you can't help but be optimistic for the impact here on dentists in this case, over 140,000 dentists, on small businesses, and on the jobs people get to do in the future economy. This is great for our kids. It's great for our country. Excited for you to meet Shreyas and Anton. Welcome to American Optimist. Today we have Shreyas and Anton from DayDream. DayDream is a dental billing company, which is like, why are we talking to a dental billing company? But obviously there's like huge wave happening in AI and productivity, and you guys are doing awesome work. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us. We're stoked.
Yeah, excited to be here.
I think a lot of people say, oh yeah, you guys are like building autonomous warships and like curing diseases. Like, why are you doing this? But, you know, in my mind, this is some of the most important stuff in our economy, because like basically there's a lot of smart people that spend, you know, millions of hours on these sorts of things, and it's a total mess, and it makes everything more expensive. And you guys, I guess, how many dentists are there overall in the country?
There are over 140,000 dentists in America.
140,000 dentists, and so this is a key workflow for all of them. And like, why is this important for you guys to solve? What's your background here? How'd you come to this?
Yeah, I jokingly say I was born into dental school. My mom was pregnant with me when she got into dental school. She raised me all throughout it. When I was 10 years old, she started her own practice. She really built her own American dream. And I was there. I was the IT guy, the bookkeeper, the janitor. Dental. I did not choose the dental life. It definitely chose me. And since then, I have not been able to escape it. But
And Anton, you grew up in Fremont, which I did as well. Yeah. Is there dentistry in your background, or are you just interested in the idea?
No dentistry in my background, but interested in great businesses and also just like helping automate this like really boring process.
I love it. And so maybe explain to us a little bit, really boring process, like what is dental billing? There's something called healthcare billing in general. This is a type of healthcare billing. How does it work, and why does it matter?
Yeah, I mean, think about any experience any American has had at a dentist. There's always someone who's gotten a bill that they don't understand, an insurance denial that doesn't make sense, suddenly a bill that is higher than they expect. And it's because in dentistry and in healthcare in America, not only do you have to pay the dentist, the insurance company has to pay the dentist. So there's this really long, complicated process called revenue cycle management, where basically when a dentist does work on a patient, they have to submit a bunch of paperwork to the insurance company. If that paperwork so much as a missing comma, the insurance company can deny that claim, which means then the dentist might not get paid or the patient has to pay. And so there's all of these rules and regulations and this complicated process the dentist has to follow. And if they don't, someone else has to pay.
I mean, how many rules can there possibly be?
Hundreds of thousands of rules. Because there are thousands of insurance companies. And every single one has a different process, different workflow. And again, standardizing all of this unstructured data is a massive problem.
And I think it's also like hundreds of thousands of rules, but also no rules, right? Nothing written down. It's something you just have to learn as it happens.
Crazy. So there's like a specialized like profession of just learning over time which things are going to work, which things are not going to work. So if someone is a dentist, they're starting off, they have to like hire people who know what they're doing here?
Yeah. In fact, you know, when you look at what it takes to become a dental biller, there's no class, there's no college. For medical billing, it's a whole industry. You can go to a community college and take a medical billing class. In dental billing, there's no experts. All of them just learn from previous generations of dental billers. So most people in the industry, you ask them, how did you learn how to do this? They said, well, the office manager before me taught that, and then I just spent 20 years doing it.
Does someone write like a good book at least or something?
Actually, someone on our billing team actually wrote a book on how to do it. And so we actually put out content on how to do this because there's a huge lack of knowledge in this industry.
So take us through what you guys are doing. Like, obviously AI is going to change this and make it a lot easier. AI still makes mistakes too, though. It's not perfect. So what's possible here? What are you guys building?
Yeah, I think at its core, we're like a tech-enabled service. So what we actually have is a team of roughly 30 billers, and we're really prioritizing human in the loop. And so our AI does a lot of the, like boring manual processes, and does like to the extent that it can. But obviously, sometimes there's like some higher order decision making needing to happen. And to do that, we rely really on our team of like expert in-house billers. Like each one of these billers are US based. They have 8 years of experience in a dental office doing dental billing. And they really help us like train not just like our own AI systems on how to do this process, but also like the engineers work with them very, very closely and like really, really understand the different workflows that are required to do this entire process.
So I love this framework of what, there was an essay in 1961 by Licklider, a famous kind of computer science philosopher, and he wrote about man-machine symbiosis, which we always talked about at Palantir. Like, what does the machine do best and what do the people do best? Back then you said man because that meant everyone, but it's, I guess nowadays you'd maybe say people-machine symbiosis, but fortunately we're not politically correct around here, so it's okay. So in general, obviously there's more things the machine can do than it could before, but what you're saying is it still can't do everything. Is it getting to a point where maybe it can do like almost everything, or is there still like, you have a ton of these billers, in 10 years will it be doing everything? How do you think about it?
I think in a couple of years. What I would say is that dental billing, like the difficult part is it's very unintuitive. So it's also not like written down. It's not really in like the training data, right? Mm-hmm. And that like unintuitiveness is why we need the billers to like sort of correct the system. Also like for the billers to teach the engineers, like, why is this the way that it is? And I can maybe give an example of like one edge case that might happen.
What's the edge case?
So it's like, let's say you got an EOB back from the insurance company, and EOB is basically a receipt on how they adjudicated and or paid the claim, right? This usually comes in the mail along with a check. And it could be that like, you got this EOB back for this claim and you're like, I never even submitted this claim. And it turns out that they sent it back under the parent's name instead of the child's name because they're on the same insurance plan, right? And so like you'd have to go into the AHR and go figure out like, oh, actually I never submitted this claim. Let me check the family file. Let me like go look at this. And then it turns out you submitted 4 x-ray codes and they returned back, oh, we paid you for 1 code. And you're like, why is this the case? And it turns out, oh, they combined the different codes together. In this like very unintuitive way, in a way that like they would have to pay less. And so like all of these just weird edge cases is something that it's extremely hard to encode into like business logic.
Interesting. So there's something where you try to say you owe me for this and this, and they say, actually, this thing over here is only 1 code, but that should cover both of these, and therefore I'm going to pay you less.
Exactly.
And so there's just all sorts of these nuances, and it turns out there's accommodations are massive.
Yeah. And like nothing's written down, and it's extremely unintuitive. And so like business logic before wasn't able to really like handle these edge cases, but LLMs can sort of reason as to why something may have happened and like taking more context.
I think what you guys are doing, what's interesting to me as well, is I think this is like a example of a lot of other businesses that are going to exist in our economy, right? So there's massive wave. I think there's $5 trillion of wages or something in U.S. services economy. This is an example of going after and making that more efficient, which obviously creates wealth for everyone, except for I guess some of the billers you're replacing, right? But overall, it's a good thing for the dentists. Overall, it's a good thing for the consumers, right?
Well, I will say on the billing side, one thing that I always tell our billing team is so much of their work historically has been working in the business, doing data entry, being on hold with the insurance company. These people are experts in their craft. They have 8+ years of experience. They should be working on the business. So many of these single location private practice dentists, they're small business owners who are looking for someone to come in with expertise to help them build and grow the business.
Interesting.
And one thing that I always tell the billing team is, you are going from just doing dental billing work to becoming dental consultants, really helping them grow the business, identifying new revenue opportunities, new ways to grow the business. And that's what humans are really good at.
This is a really great point. So you want to take human workers, take away the kind of grunt work, take away the waiting on the phone, the boring stuff, let them operate at a higher level to actually create more value. And so what you're doing is you're going to have more value created per person by far.
Exactly. And one thing that's kind of counterintuitive that we've seen when we work with groups and large practices, people always ask us, does this mean I have to lay off my team? And we always say, no, actually what we find is they reallocate the resources of their existing team to, again, higher level work, which then grows their business, which then merits even more people to actually sustain a growing practice.
You end up having to hire another dentist or another person to help with the office or as it grows. That's very interesting. And so what has been the response so far? Like what kind of efficiency gains are you making? Like how's it working?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about
Yeah, like one really big thing is that we help recover like outstanding claim revenues, like outstanding like AR.
So AR, this is like money that like they try to charge, they never got it, and maybe it was from a year ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah, like basically 1 in 5 claims that you send to a dental insurance company just like won't come back within 30 days, and you're gonna have to call or go to the insurance portal and figure out what happened to the claim.
20% of the claims you have to go chase.
Yes, exactly. And so what we've deployed is a bunch of AI agents that will call the insurance company and go figure out what exactly happened to your check, right? Maybe it got lost in the mail, and the agent will ask to reissue the check.
This is crazy though. Like, you should just be an API at the company, but they don't have an API, which there's no way for the computer to talk to it. So you have to pretend to be a human to talk to it. It's the only way to do it.
Exactly. And like, maybe on the insurance company side, like they will also have AI talking presumably in the future, and they'll just be like AI to AI.
AI will start talking. I heard like maybe they'll start developing like a secret language at some point. It's much faster.
Maybe Morse code. I don't know.
English is not necessarily like for us. It works, with Chinese or English or something. But they probably have some other language.
Yeah.
It is funny because right now we have the AI voices talking, our AI agents talking to the humans on their side.
Yeah.
And not only do we pass the Turing test, we had a call 2 weeks ago where the human agent was like, wow, your voice sounds really familiar. I talked to you yesterday. You're really good at your job. You're so efficient. And the AI was like, yeah, thank you so much. Like, really appreciate it. I'm doing this a lot. And again, we see these conversations happen all the time. In fact, word on the street is the insurance rep prefer the AI phone calls because of how efficient they are.
God, that's true. The AI phone calls get right down to business.
Exactly.
They're going to be. It actually is funny. Customer support that works through AI, people are happier in general,
Yes.
right? On both sides. It's like it's not as annoying. What kind of efficiency gains are you seeing? Like, how do you guys think about this from like a productivity perspective?
I mean, one of my KPIs is always how many dollars are we putting back in the dentist pocket?
Yeah.
So there was this wonderful husband-wife team in Colorado. They had $800,000 in outstanding claims. This is like
What?
almost $1 million.
That's a lot.
It is a lot of money.
Over multiple years and
Over multiple years. And again, they're not alone. I mean, we work with practices where this is like not uncommon to have $500,000.
Wow.
And if you can imagine being a small business owner or even a large business,
A lot of money for everyone. It's a lot of money for me.
exactly. So it's a lot of money. And, in 6 months, we were able to recover $400,000. So $400,000 that was held up in these insurance companies. And again, if it was just humans doing it, it would take years to do this kind of cleanup.
Is this because you're doing so many calls as well? It's like I guess because like, what kind of stuff are you doing?
So it's suddenly like for every outstanding claim that the human has to work, instead of them spending 30 minutes on the phone, the AI agent is doing it. Instead of them having to go navigate these old insurance portals and spend a bunch of time just looking up data, it's brought back. The AI agent brings that data back for the human to then decide, hey, what is the next step? And you kind of start to see this weird paradigm where our billers are orchestrating these agents as almost like a puppet master, right? Like, hey, intern, go do this, go on hold for me. I will wait for you to come back with the information. I'll make a decision. And what we find is that they're able to work through 3 to 5 times more claims in the same amount of time because they're no longer doing this menial work.
There's something weird where our society works based on trust right now that you can call people. What if people just started spamming everyone? I guess it'd be expensive to do that or something. Like, it's kind of interesting. You just call people and get things done. There's no like code to get in or something.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes the insurance reps, they'll ask the AI, like if they suspect it's AI, hey, how's the weather where you are? They'll like try to ask like
That's funny.
codes
Yeah.
to suss it out.
Yeah.
And now the AI has gotten good enough to get around it, which is pretty cool.
How's the weather where you are? You can answer. You just get ready for the answer, huh?
Yeah.
Oh man. But do people get angry sometimes that it's AI?
Not angry, but sometimes they will hang up the phone.
They think it's
But
AI.
like that happens like less than 8% of the time.
Exactly. You're measured, of course. And so it's working. You're getting the old money back. You're making their business more efficient in terms of operating it. It's going to cost less. Like, where do you go beyond billing? Are you thinking about other use cases for this?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all in on dental. Again, maybe it's just because of where I grew up, but there's so many problems that a dental practice has that most people are not seeing. If you think about these people, people like my mom, they're fantastic clinicians. They went to a ridiculous amount of schooling to become amazing dentists. No one ever taught them how to do insurance billing. No one ever taught them how to read QuickBooks. No one ever taught them how to do expense management. The world that I see DayDream moving into very quickly is right now we help dentists bring money into their business. Mm-hmm. Well, what happens afterwards? Where do they store that money? How do they help grow that money? Where do they spend it? How do they spend it? I could very much see a world where we are back office in a box for dentists.
Interesting.
Where suddenly dentists can just focus on the thing they love, which is patients. And then we handle a lot of the back office functions, like making sure that everyone's getting paid, making sure that the patients are getting the right bills sent to them, making sure that, hey, your revenue is growing and you're able to grow your business, not just survive.
Making sure that you do get the accounting hooked up and the legal and everything hooked up, huh?
Really, the financial operating system of the business is what the vision is.
That's awesome. So there's 140,000 dentists, right? You're just getting going. How are you reaching out to more dentists, by the way? I'm curious. Like how do you get people? You're saving them a lot of money. How do you tell them about it?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing a lot of creative stuff. Again, this is an industry that traditional people have not innovated on go-to-market on. And actually, if it's okay, I'll show you an example of one of these. So this is a campaign we're doing. I don't know if you can see this.
Your cash is here. I'll put it in front of me. Look at this. What's it say? There you go.
Your cash is locked inside, ready to set it free. And inside is a little surprise here. It's actually a safe. And in order to unlock this safe,
that's cool.
You have to schedule a demo with us. We'll send you a 3-digit code, and inside is a prize. Because, for so many practices, their money is quite literally locked in by insurance.
Do you send them
companies.
like money in here sometimes?
Yeah, in fact, and in these boxes could be anywhere from $100 to $5,000.
So they regularly just get $100 here, $100 bills.
And word on the street is, I know we were talking about this before the pod, maybe a special surprise from you.
That's right. Well, I was saying if you're gonna have $100 bills, maybe we should have like some fun $500 bills as well. I used to collect these larger bills, which I don't know if dentists are into that. Maybe they would be though. I think it'd be cool.
I think
it's like
it'd
one
be
insurance claim.
What was actually particularly relevant today, actually, given all the discussion around tariffs, is I think McKinley would actually be the president on the $500 bill. So we have a lot. I just interviewed Mark Andreessen on this a few weeks ago, and like a lot of what Trump's doing was like very similar to what McKinley would talk about with tariffs. So anyway, maybe it'd be interesting to get one of his bills too.
That would be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I love it. So that's a neat idea. So you're sending everyone safes with cash. I guess if they don't schedule a demo, the cash just sits
It's just
there.
locked in, and that's
which is kind of similar to what's happening with their cash as it is.
Exactly. If they don't use someone like DayDream, their money is quite literally just in someone else's pocket. And again, I think what we've really noticed is, in traditional SMB marketing and go-to-market, it used to be field sales. Now, one of our biggest sources is actually that could be the YouTube thumbnail. That's a good one. I like that. But it's Facebook groups. We are so deeply embedded in these communities. I probably spend 10 hours a week on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, just answering dentist questions in these groups, adding value to their community.
It's funny if you go back 2 generations in our country, a lot of the dentists were like immigrant Jews. And so a lot of my mom's side's Jewish, and a lot of like my great uncles and stuff were dentists, and they're great dentists. And it's kind of like seems like paralleled now with a lot of the Indian community. Is that the case?
Yeah. There's a lot of South Asian dentists and a lot of immigrant dentists. I mean, I know, we talk a lot about like American optimism. You guys talk a lot about on the show. Like, again, so many dentists are really chasing their American dream. They came here from a different country and build their own business. I mean, it is very exciting. And
you live very well at the dentist. These people are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And they're doing very well.
Well, they are producing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Are they collecting all of it is what we help them do. But
So I want to ask about this because this is there's these independent practices in dentistry. There's another trend, which is private equities rolling up dental, maybe in part because it is hard for some people to run their own offices. Like, what do you think about this trend? Is that trend not as necessary with what you guys are doing maybe?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it almost double the amount of dental practices in the past 6 years that are owned by private equity. It's doubled in the past 6 years. And this trend is because of like people are saying, I'm tired of running the business side. I just kind of want to get this off of my hands. We see this trend happening. We serve both single location, small practices in Omaha, Nebraska, all the way to large groups that are private equity backed in Texas. I mean, we serve the whole gamut. Our take is, dentists should have that choice on how they want to run their business.
You'll help either one. If they want to be independent, you can help them do that better and with more what you build. But if you want to make a private equity group work better, you guys are good at that too.
And for a lot of these private equity backed ones, what we're noticing is like we basically become their drop-in RCM department. These private equity firms are great at acquiring practices, doing real estate deals. They're not really good at dental insurance. No one is really good at dental insurance. And so what we see them coming to us as is like, hey, I have a lot of money on the table. Can you help us recover it? And the ROI for them is quite clear. And then for the SMB side, what we see is, hey, I literally cannot find people in Omaha, Nebraska to do this. So we serve both, but it is both exciting and also somewhat interesting to see the impact on healthcare in America. And I would say dental to me is the last frontier. In medical, there's been so much consolidation over the past 20 years. In dental, 70% of the market are still people like my mom who just love being in the community, serving the community. There's not a diner in our town that they don't know Dr. Sue,
I love it.
And I think that's special.
I love it. And so there's this long tail of healthcare in America, especially dentistry. Like what's the optimistic case? How does healthcare look different if this stuff works?
I think the world that I'm really excited about is when we have these like groups that start to form. So not these like 1,000 location practices, but groups where they basically really know deeply the region, they deeply know the community and the needs of that community, and are able to run more efficiently and actually focus on patient care and what the patient needs. So much of the bad rep that dentists get in this country of, oh, they suddenly prescribe me more fillings than I think I need. It's because dentists are feeling the squeeze of the supplies going up, the insurance companies getting more complicated. In the world where DayDream is in every one of these 140,000 practices, the dentist can just focus on patient care and they don't have to worry about the back office BS.
So no, it makes them do it right. That is unfortunate. Some of them have bad incentives. Some of them are really good, I guess, in that. Let's dig a little more into the AI as well here, because I think this is, if we're stepping back again, there's going to be a lot of businesses in our economy that are making things more productive. They're helping people operate, on the more interesting problems because the AI is taking care of the more routine things. Like how does that work? Like LLMs, obviously, we all see them. I think very famously, went crazy on X recently and it said some really intense things. Like these things are obviously still flawed. They're still figuring everything out. They're still making mistakes. Like, how are you harnessing this to do a good job and not just be crazy?
Yeah. I mean, I think like the way that we think about it is like there's probably two modalities of like how we use LLMs. One is like data rails, data normalization, and like traditionally, I would say that like one of the differences between dental and medical is that like the data rails in medical are far better. And so like this might be, calling the insurance company to get the status of a claim check, where traditionally it might be like an API call, right? Or using like AI agents to scrape the web portals and to gather information about like a claim or like benefits for a patient, right? What is covered, what is not.
So the AI can go look and get all the information from the web portals as well as have all the data that you guys have.
Exactly. And so that's like data normalization and like augmenting what are like broken data rails with LLMs, right? And that wasn't possible before because it's so unstructured, right? And then I would say like the second part is like probably like the more agentic LLM stuff, which is like, okay, now that I have all this data, how do I act on it? What decisions do I do, right? Like, how do I post this into, how do I post the payment into like, the EHR in the correct way, given like A, B, and C conditions that are like all three individual S cases like mixed together.
So you're mapping out, apparently we'd call it an ontology. You're mapping out an ontology of the data, which you're structuring, and then you're mapping out the ontology of the workflow basically and defining the types of workflows you could do and then seeing which ones the agents can do. And then you're training them how to do it, you're practicing?
Yeah, exactly. And so like the way we do it is that every engineer at our company owns a workflow and they're measured on the automation lift on that workflow, right? And so they work extremely closely with the humans and the billers, sort of understand, and then sort of, some may call it prompt, some may call it like engineering, like business logic. They sort of just figure out how do we mimic these human workflows in a way that is like repeatable and obviously like has to be extremely high quality because you are basically doing accounting for the dentist.
And so they're iterating a bunch on things, including the prompts, to get it to like work a very high percent of the time.
Exactly.
And are there like, how high percent of time does it have to work for that workflow for it to like be usable by the billers? Like, how do you think about that?
It's very dependent on the workflow. I would say sometimes we go with the like Devin-esque approach of like the agent doing everything, and sometimes we go with the cursor approach of let's augment the human a little bit and like maybe try to 10x the human. But I would say like you have to be very intellectually rigorous with how you choose to automate. And I'll give one example is like if the AI agent calls the insurance company and you need 10 pieces of information and the agent is able to get 9 pieces of information, the human still has to call the insurance company, wait on hold, and get that last piece of information. So you actually ended up automating less than 90% of the work, right? Almost closer to 20%, something like that. Because the human still has to do repeat work if you're not able to do all of it, right? So just being very like rigorous about how we measure the automation and like how we go about automating certain parts, I think is like sort of like the key sauce in what we do.
Are there certain things you learn, like, okay, that it should say at the beginning of the call, I have 10 pieces of information I need in order to get this call done right, and can you help me with them? Or things like that, or that you kind of practice with, or how's that work?
Yeah, I think like we obviously play around with the script, we play around with voices. But I would say like part of it is the calling, but also part of it is a lot of just like it's like web scraping stuff and like how sure are you that the information you got is correct? Because if you're unsure, the human doesn't really want to trust the system, and the human will go back and like redo the work.
Are there certain voices that work better than others? Like, is it like a Sean Connery, or is it like a friendly woman, or like what do people want to hear?
We A/B test a whole bunch of different voices, a whole bunch of different accents.
It's like a very strong Indian accent, so they think they're outsourced Indian person calling.
We have used some offshore accents, and I would say that like one funny tidbit is the name that we use for our AI agent is Alex Lee, and the reason is it's the shortest one. It's like ethnically ambiguous, it's gender ambiguous, and it's very, very easy for the AI to spell it out correctly.
Yeah,
right?
That's funny.
And I think like one of the, going back to the reasoning and the agent, how do we get it better? Having that billing agency of human data labelers in-house. This is a part of the story we maybe didn't mention, which was, we basically went out and acquired an existing service business, a billing agency that ran, and then we used AI to automate it from the inside. And one of the unique things about that was effectively we have data labelers in-house. So as we are experimenting with these prompts and these agentic workflows, the agents are not having to like net new understand. They're watching all of the data that we are collecting as our human team is doing the work.
This is a very interesting strategy. So you actually bought a services business and then use that to kind of like get going and training and working on, which is probably a very common thing a lot of our people are going to do. You get one services business, you make it much better, and you can expand it massively, huh?
Exactly. And I would say that probably saved us like years of time having to come up with a 0 to 1 of, hey, how does dental billing work? Because, for example, for the phone calls, before we started automating the phone calls, we had literally hundreds of hours of our humans talking to the insurance companies.
Yeah.
And that was what we used to build our agent.
And how much, we're trying to talk productivity, is it like twice as productive, 3 times as productive, or how do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, across the board, for all of the workflows, I would say about 3 to 5 times more effective. Every one person is now 3 to 5 times more effective.
Does that mean that if you'd owned a services business and then you did this, you'd make like 3 times as much? Or how do you think about that?
Maybe not just the margin, but also the productivity of the employee. So they're able to handle so much more volume, right? And so, I think it's really cool when we see, we have a couple of practices that are growing really fast. They went from we started working with them when they had 2 locations, and now they have 5 or 6. And it used to be 1 human that was on that account, and it's still just 1 human. And I think that's exciting because when they go to 7 or 8, I still think it's going to be 1 human.
And you can charge them more if they're doing more things, though. So.
Exactly. And so I think you do start to see it bleed into margin, but it does take a little bit more time.
Is the AI just getting a lot better every month or 2, or is it about the same? Or how's the rate of improvement?
It's like a lot more data integrations. The AI is obviously becoming more accurate, and it's handling more of the long tail of edge cases, of which in this industry there are a bunch, right? And I would also say that part of this is productivity and margin improvement, but actually I think we put a lot of effort into automating in service of margin and productivity, but actually we've seen an equal amount of improvement in just overall quality and accuracy of the service.
Yep.
And the reason is because for a human services-based business, it's very hard to ensure quality when there's a different person servicing your account. And it's all about the training, and it's all about standards and SOPs and stuff. But when we're able to encode best practices directly into the LLM, then we know that it's doing high quality work all of the time, and it's something that we can guarantee across thousands of different clients.
So you're making their service just way better. So Dennis working with you, you're just going to get much better service. Does it make sense for you guys at some point to buy other billing businesses that exist and have a bunch of clients and just make them way better and worth way more?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the way we think about it now is we did it once and we're going to keep on growing this. And then eventually we're going to know what our LTV CAC is. And then if, sending out cash in these lockboxes, once we run out of these ideas, I mean, I think not only that, I could imagine a world where we white label the software to these other billing agencies and say, hey, we have all of these other services like card spend, bank accounts, bookkeeping, and say, hey, you guys have all this distribution in your region. Yeah, we'll just white label the software, and then you guys help us increase the productivity of the practice, and we grow with that.
That could work. Maybe we just buy them, but let's just figure out.
I'm down to buy them.
Cost of is always a famous the cost of time is greater than the cost of cost. So just get bigger faster, right?
Yeah.
And it's but I love that you're starting with let's be especially because you come from your mother being in the industry, let's be the best thing possible for the dentist, and that's a really cool place to start from, that you care about what they're doing.
And I think that's been, I jokingly say our marketing budget is actually our customer success budget. Dentists have this one unique shared quality, is that they all went to dental school. So every dentist, every one of our customers knows 30, 50, 200 dentists. When we do a fantastic job recovering hundreds of thousands of dollars, guess which group chat they're telling? Hey, I can probably buy a new Porsche.
That's cool.
And why? It's probably because of DayDream, right?
I love it.
So I like to keep that going for as long as we can.
Well, you guys are crushing it. It's going to change how dentists and patients experience that. And then the ending here for optimism for America, like what other trends should investors and builders be paying attention to? What has this taught you guys from doing this?
Two things. One is the power of American small business is still alive and well. I mean, we see it every day where we are working with dentists who are suddenly, technology historically has left these SMBs out. Yeah. We live in an age where actually intelligence can be distributed to a small business owner to grow their business and not need to hire the staff that they needed to, or to actually have the knowledge to be able to grow. And I think that's super exciting to me, is in all of these small towns that we serve, these dentists, they feel like they need a lifeline. And for the first time, technology is not something they're scared about. They're excited about it. It might actually help them build their business. And then the second trend, which I think is maybe counterintuitive these days, people say AI is going to come and take all of the jobs, right? That's like maybe the negative case for AI. What we actually see is the opposite. We see our billers becoming more empowered to do more work. We see them working on the business. Our billers, we have 1 in 8 people on our billing team, they're military spouses, right? These are in small towns in Missouri who are suddenly growing dental practices across the country. A lot of them, they counted themselves out of the workforce. Maybe they started families or they wanted to work remotely. We got a chance to bring them back into the fold and help them, give them the tools to be able to serve more customers. And I think people worry that AI is going to take everything. I actually think we see the bull case every day where, a mom in Missouri City is now a prompt engineer and working for us. And not only that, she's going back to school to be a software engineer at night. And I think that's the American dream we see every day.
That's amazing. Well, that's a great optimistic note to end it on. AI creating more jobs and making small business better. I'm bullish on America with that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.